Hello. Thanks again for tuning in to Community Voice PHL Talk Show, a show that informs, engages, and inspires. As always, I'm excited to be on the airways today, and as I work through getting on my headsets like I normally should, we have an exciting guest that's going to be on the show, and we're going to be able to get into a deep conversation with someone who's really creative in the space of making things happen throughout the city, and you're going to be excited about the information he's going to share. But I know as we talk about excitement, one thing for sure you're going to be excited about is EAGLES. Yeah, this is going to be the year. I mean, it built up to be exactly what a lot of folk wanted, in terms of the rematch, KC against the Eagles. And, the drama is there, right? You got KC trying to get the three-peat, Philly trying to get the revenge. I know how I want it to be, even though I'm not an Eagles fan. I know all y'all listening out there know that, I'm not an Eagles fan, but I do want the Eagles to win this one, because not that I hate the Chiefs, but it'd be nice for the city, and we on the roll. Everything's going good. Saquon's running like a beast, and Jalen is playing good ball, and the receivers are coming in when they need. Everything's there, and the defense is ranked number 1. So come on, we got to bring it home for Jerome, as they used to say today. But yeah, we're excited about that. We definitely are, and condolences to the family of the young man who, his life was lost in the midst of that celebration. So let's be mindful, Eagles fans and Philadelphia as a whole. When we do win, let's celebrate, let's party, let's do it right. But let's not have anything like that happen again, because that was truly a sad moment as you were trying to celebrate a good time. So condolences to the families there. What I want to do, I want to just jump right into it, because we have just a bit of time here in this episode of Community Voice PHL. But I do want to say thank you all for your emails that you normally send out to us. If you want to send an email to us, again, it's communityvoicephl@gmail.com. And next episode, we're going to be answering some of those emails. We're going to just spend maybe half of the show just answering some of the emails. Well, not really answering, but commenting on some of the emails. Because you've sent in some great ones. We want to always, again, let you know that we read them, we respond to them accordingly. So I'm going to have a few out on the air and talk about that next week, and I'll be able to share some of my thoughts and comments about your feedback. And if you're following us for the first time, check us out on social media. Where we land the most is Instagram, which is Community Voice PHL. All of our other platforms are the same, so you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Community Voice PHL Talk Show, Apple Podcasts, Community Voice PHL Talk Show as well. And again, if you want to just follow us on Instagram, Community Voice PHL, and send us an email to communityvoicephl@gmail.com. So like and subscribe to our streaming platforms, and just follow us with any way that you can. We have a guest today, Nick Best. Now, I know with a name like that, you'd be like, that's a made-up name. Now, that's his real name, because he's doing the most and he's doing the best. He's creative in a lot of spaces. He's doing a lot of innovative work out there in the city. I'm excited to have him on the show, and I know I'm going to have him back on, because our brief conversations prior to being on the air was really, you ever talk to somebody like this person is really authentic. This person is really, sincere about their work. And I'm not giving, false platitudes or, kudos or anything like that. But I'm sure, listeners out there, you understand what I'm saying, because you talk to somebody like, yeah, that's a real one, so to speak. So, Nick Best, glad to have you on Community Voice PHL Talk Show, my brother.
Glad to be here. Thank you. It's an honor, truly.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So give our listening audience and our YouTube viewers a little bit about who you are and the work that you do, because I don't want to talk you up, man. You talk yourself up.
Listen, man. Appreciate it. So my name is Nick Best. As he said, I also go by Ingenious Nick. That's a little creative name I made for myself, because my whole mission really to do is just show people that you can create a reality that you want to, and that involves, it might be a little moniker. So I say, okay, my name is Ingenious Nick. What does that mean exactly, and what does it mean to be a creator and a creative? And something I do is called creative directing, but it's not your traditional creative director where it's like, all right, if you got this music group that you're trying to bring out and you want to figure out how to really make that pop and stand out as far as colors and visuals, sure, that's a part of the process. But my creative direction really goes into helping those reach the authentic being that they truly are, outside of who they're told to be. Because, a lot of times I won't even say a lot of times, I'll say most of the time, we have this thing where we're programmed already. So from birth, you given a name, what you like, dad might put a ball in your hand, when you just get to the crib. But was that your idea to play ball, or did you really want to do something else? So now growing up and moving through life that way, not saying there's anything wrong with that, but if it's not truly something that you want to do and you're just moving that way for, outside validation, is it truly the character that you want to play? Is that what you want to create for yourself instead of having somebody else create it for you?
That's a lot. That's a lot right there. And if you're just tuning in, you listen to WPPMLP Philadelphia 106.5 FL. Nick Best dropping some knowledge. Ingenious Nick. I'm gonna call you Ingenious now on. Ingenious Nick. A Philly-based art facilitator, designer, creator, director, and coach with a passion for blending external expression and internal exploration. His mission is to guide others to the innate and infinite power that lies within them via creativity and authenticity. That's a lot, bro. What got you into that space in terms of, being that introspective and dealing with people? Was it like nature, nurture, or did it something that just kind of was like a cathartic moment that happened in your life?
That's a loaded question. I would say a little bit of everything.
Okay.
It started from, birth, but I really tapped into it as a child, creating and, with the colors, and I'm like, that imagination.
So you colored outside the lines?
Exactly.
Okay.
Comedian and the talk show host. Listen, I love it here.
All right.
But it's just noticing that you're able to really create your own world, and that's kind of taken away from you a little bit, because as you grow older, you start to lose a little bit of that creative identity, and it's not the same.
Yeah, and I like what you were saying as you were introducing yourself. You talked about like the identity piece. Were you born with it, or was it given to you? Do you think that sometimes in our society that our, and I guess youth, but even sometimes adults, we lose that yearning of who we are? And what I mean by that is that, there's sometimes you tell the kid, you can do anything when you can do anything. And they get to be like 16, 17, you can't do that.
Exactly.
Talk a little bit about how that works into the line of how you're trying to reshape people's mindsets.
Well, I guess we can jump right into Enlighten Us, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'm a part of a collective known as Enlighten Us. There's many factors going on. We got breath work, there's yoga, there's sound healing, and a piece that we just recently introduced was creative consciousness. And that's the art of really pulling in tools of some things that you may have going on within your subconscious and saying, okay, how can I make something creatively out of this instead of having it do me in a way that's not really serving me? So that can look like journaling with artwork, paintings, or clip art, or whatever you find.
Yeah. Is any spoken word in that?
We haven't got there yet, but you might have just given us an idea. Credit to you.
Thanks. And I just mentioned that because, again, within the vein of all that expression of self, sometimes the spoken word fits into that genre of ideas too. So Enlighten Us, is that metaphysical? What is it?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
A little bit of that.
Okay. And you're guiding people to a higher understanding of self or society. Where does Enlighten Us take an individual? Jeff comes into your session day one. What should I experience as part of that collective?
Really just sitting with self, and how can you sit with what's going on internally and bringing up that higher version of who you can be. So it's really about the student and the teacher thing. So we're not trying to teach you or tell you anything. We're trying to get you to look at that for yourself.
Okay. Looking at self for self or self for society?
I would say self for self, because it starts with self for self. If you don't know self, then when you go into society, that goes back into that thing we were speaking about earlier, where somebody else is programming you. So when you get to know self first, and then you go out into society, I think it's a bigger mesh.
Now, do you think that's a challenge? Like you get a young third grade, you're 9, go ahead, finish what I'm about to say. Go ahead. The challenge. Speak about the challenge.
It's uncomfortable. I would say it's uncomfortable, because you really got to look at, okay, well, dang, this is not who I really was. Somebody else was influencing me, and that really wasn't my character. But now, when I have to look at all those uncomfortable parts of self, it's challenging. It's not easy, because you still unwiring that programming that you had. But once you sit with it, it helps.
Now, in your work, do you find people who finally realize who they are and feel as though, you know, like their life was a deception? Is any of that mixed in there?
Deception from self, absolutely.
Yeah, deception from self. Like that's not who I really was. Like you mentioned, like, and a lot of people who play basketball will be mad at you. some father putting the basketball in his hand right now, and his son probably like, I want to play the piano. But do you think that is part of like the social steering? And we're not blaming parents, so let it be known we're not blaming parents for any regard, because I'm a parent of three lovely children actually. But do you think sometimes that's a design of vicarious living for parents, and like, I want my son to play basketball, or I want my daughter to model, and so they'll take their ambitions and put them onto their children, and you'll find, because even if a child turns out to be successful as a model and a basketball player, I guess in your line of work in enlighten us, I guess you're trying to get to this point of who are you really, right?
Exactly.
And do you think that sometimes, what's the better approach in that is what I'm trying to say? If you have a child and really want them to grow up to be their true self, what's the best approach to that in your opinion?
Well, I want to put out there that I'm not a parent, so I can't tell you what is and what isn't the best approach.
Yes, you can.
However, I can give some advice because I was a professional child, if that makes sense.
There you go.
I got that experience.
There you go.
But yeah, I would really just, we tend to think that we know what's best for people. And as parents, I'm sure you don't want anything bad for your child. You want the best for them. So if you put that ball in their hand, you might say, okay, well, sports makes a lot of money. They remain in athletics, so they're taking care of their physical health in that way. But really allowing someone the space to be themselves and truly be authentic, I feel like that's a beneficial way, not only for self, but society as well.
Yeah, because I can imagine that being something that if a child isn't stagnating who they really are, they won't be frustrated in their teenage years. And sometimes, in my working with youth, not in a broad brush, but sometimes we find youth are frustrated because no one hears them, sees them, understands them. And yet they're already labeled and placed and pushed in positions where they're, like, that's not really me. And then you're wondering why they mad, why they angry, why they this. And it's not because of just the social situations which factor in, but it's because, again, you don't see me, hear me, or value me in the space of who I really am. And that's why I like the essence of your work in terms of that deep dive. It's almost like a tabooish type of thing, because you talk about it, then you hating on them, you blaming this. No, I'm just trying to have everyone understand who you really are, or who the child or person really is, so that they can be fully free in and of themselves. So I like the level of your work. And do you think, like, as you continue to grow, enlighten us, that it'll be something that can be connected to programs and services, so that people can really get another therapeutic approach in a holistic way?
I would say so. There's a bunch of, like I said, there's so many ways to come back to self. It's not just about, one particular thing. Yoga as well, which is a part of the programs that we offer. It's breathing through the process of movement. So let's say I'm picking up something heavy, it's a struggle. It doesn't feel good. But if I'm breathing through that process, I can carry that into my everyday life. So you don't have to necessarily go to a yoga class, but just really tapping into that aspect of being still, being present, and breathing through those uncomfortable moments to sit with self.
Sitting with self can be difficult, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. What is some of the things that you've noticed when people come and you say, hey, you have to sit with self? What is some of the feedback they say? It's difficult for me to do what, to sit with myself.
It's really no sugar-cut, candy-coated answer outside of really just being present, just noticing. So maybe if you want to try a specific tool.
Yeah. And I ask that question because, it's just like they would say, like, mirror work, breath work, and the work that you're doing, if it all encompasses that, that's asking people, i.e. myself, to just be quiet.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't do that.
You'll get there.
No, but I'm saying that's what people say too. Like, yeah, I can't get there. Give me 2 minutes of silence, and I'm like, they gotta miss the hour of power or something like that.
I want to add into, I'm no expert in that. It's all a growing process, so it's not something I've mastered yet. I have those days where it's like the chatter is just uncontrollable.
So, do you let the chatter in, or do you try and keep it out?
That's the thing. We always trying to control something. You just
Right.
let it in
Yeah,
and let
okay.
it flow.
Okay.
Because once you put up that, so imagine a stream, right?
Mm-hmm.
You put a bunch of boulders in the way,
Mm-hmm.
you stop the stream.
Mm-hmm.
So that's you trying to control stuff. So you did all that extra work to try to stop the stream,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just a bunch of backed up clutter. It never really goes anywhere.
Okay. So then does the clutter have to have a channel of release?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. How does it, redirecting the clutter?
Mm-hmm.
How is that done? Is there a specific way? Because if the clutter is clutter,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is it purposeful? Put it that. Was it clutter purposeful?
Absolutely, 100%. I'm glad you said that. Yes,
Okay, talk about
it
that.
all has a purpose. We tend to think of like, let's say a negative thought pops in. Well, where did that negative thought come from? That might have been some program that I received from somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, example, if there's traffic backed up on the road,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you're getting upset, you got somewhere to be, you start hobbling and bobbling and cussing and fussing. But can you control any of that? Usually not.
Right.
So a channel would be, all right, I notice what's going on. I can't control it.
Mm-hmm.
Why not just sit in stillness and breathe?
Okay, so in that traffic scenario though, if someone's in that, and I thank you for sharing that because that does enlighten and clear up a lot of what I was asking in that question, so I appreciate that. But to further help and tease it out, if someone's in that traffic and, you know, they know it's nothing that they can control, how do you deal with someone who then begins to blame themselves? Like, oh man, I shouldn't have took 76. I should have took Lincoln Drive. Now I'm gonna be lit.
Mm-hmm.
How, is that part of how you can help them deal with that too? Because that's a real guilt or a real expression, I should say, that people go through.
Absolutely.
They're trying to breathe and be calm, but part of the thought process is, yeah, I should have took the boulevard. I should have took this. Now it's my fault. I'm always doing this. Is there something in terms of how you can speak to that? Maybe give some thoughts and some support with that.
Yeah, guilt is definitely a part of the process for sure, and I find guilt is a masterful teacher, and I'll say that because, all right, I'm beating myself up about something I can't control.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that?
Mm-hmm.
And you start to go down a rabbit hole and continue to ask questions. You find out where it stems from.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes back into sitting with self and finding out where it exactly stems from that you're blaming yourself in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Because
it's not something you can control. It's out of your hands. So why is it that we do that as humans is the question.
What's the answer?
It's individual. It's not a one trick pony.
Got you. So yeah, it's nuanced with psychology, sociology, and psychology. I did that. Yeah, sociology and psychology is blended in with all that. Therapeutic in a lot of spaces. Now, if someone wants to be part of the Enlighten Us, is there like a group sign up? Is it cohort based? How does someone get involved with being part of Enlighten Us?
So anybody is always welcome to join whatever we got going on. You can find us on Instagram, and right now that's the best way to contact us. And from there, we'll put out future events that we got going on. We'll post highlights and really just keep you updated within and out.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think is most responsible for the level of success you've been having with Enlighten Us?
Most responsible.
Well, or responsible in general. Doesn't have to be the most, because I know you seem like you're not the one who ranks stuff like that. I ain't ranking stuff; it just fits.
Sure. Yeah. I would say everybody who I've come in contact with up to that point, because they all had something to do with the character who I was to even be involved with that project.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that sitting with self again, it could be partners I've had, teachers, friends, family, to really get me in that path to join a collective as far as that.
Now, in sitting with self too, I want to get your opinion on this, and then I want to begin to wrap up because this is half an hour. It's going way too quick for us, bro. Sitting with self, if it produces feelings of, insecurity or negative feelings, is that part of the process of still realizing who that person is, or is that again going back over to guilt?
Yeah, I still think it serves a purpose.
Okay.
It may be guilt in a way, but that guilt is a teacher. Like, this is happening for a reason, so what is it teaching me? I like to think of things as not happening to you necessarily, but happening for you.
For you, okay. And then there's a teaching process of understanding why that happened.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And then when they get to that point of understanding, is that when the light comes on, or is the light a destination, or is it like a journey?
I would say it's more of a journey. That's definitely what is the destination exactly? That might differ to some folks, but I like to think of it as long as you're alive is always somewhere to get. So you might have an understanding of something on Tuesday, but by the time Friday come around, you're like, wait a minute, I don't even agree with that point anymore. So it's always a journey. It just never stops.
Got you. So before we wrap up, if you could share with our viewers and listeners 3 solid points that they can take with them as they consider trying to find out who they really are in their inner selves, and maybe even how to support the work that you're doing. So 3 solid points, and then wrap up on how they continue to support you. So I'll give you this time.
Absolutely. Thank you. Well, the theme has been sit with self, so we already know that's number 1. But for some tools I can give you, I would say meditation is really important. And meditation doesn't look like anything specifically. You don't have to sit down, cross leg, and stand on your head or any of that. Just really finding a quiet moment to breathe and observe the thoughts instead of judging them. Because when you start to judge things, that's where the conflict comes in. And I want to jump back into creativity for the last one. Let that inner child run free. If you feel like you're somebody who has labels placed on them from outside resources, and you find that you're doing things for outside validation, really tap back into who you are and who you want to be. And some things you can do are as simple as like coloring or drawing or painting or whatever expressive release that you can find that works for you. It doesn't have to be a one size fits all type of deal. If you would like to support this work, you can find us on Instagram at Enlighten Us. If you would like to reach me directly, you can find me on Instagram at Ingenious Nick. And I'm happy to serve.
That's what's up. So thanks again for being on Community Voice PHL Talk Show. Definitely going to have you back on, because the work that you're doing, I believe, is really meaningful, and I'm sure our viewers and listeners will say the same, and they'll probably be emailing me about how to connect with you. But yeah, I appreciate our conversation, and again, we'll have all this in the show notes on our YouTube and our Apple Podcast channels. But I appreciate the insights, and definitely, like I said, we're going to have you back on so you can continue to enlighten us and enlighten me. I like your conversation. I like your sharp mind. As we begin to wrap up this show, remember this: at any moment, you are one decision away from having a meaningful and better life. One decision away. Often people think about, one choice. Choices are what we are given. Decisions are what we make. When we are in a position to understand we can make that right decision to change the trajectory of our life, it only takes one decision to do it. We got a multitude of choices. So it's the decision that you make to make that choice, to make that decision to be the best one to better your life going forward. Ingenious Nick has given us some tools about the sitting with self to understand how we can make that decision. Also being able to be enlightened with the work that he's going to be doing. If you get in contact with him, you are just one decision away from having a purposeful and meaningful life. And this isn't to say your life isn't purposeful and meaningful as it is, because again, Ingenious Nick shared with us, it's not just a destination, it is a journey. Every day we get to wake up, we get a chance to make that one decision that day to have a better day. Make that decision today for you to self-examine yourself, to look inwardly and say, who am I really and who do I want to be? And make the decision to be that person. So Ingenious Nick, thanks for being on the show, my good brother. You're welcome. Any final words? I know I'll let you wrap up before. Any final words before we sign off for the episode?
Go meditate.
Go meditate. That's what's up. So again, thanks for tuning in for Community Voice PHL Talk Show, a show that informs, engages, and inspires. If you want to get with us, send us an email to communityvoicephl@gmail.com. Please follow us on all of our streaming platforms, on Apple Podcasts and YouTube channel, Community Voice PHL Talk Show, which is for both. And also, if you want to get us on social media, we're always on Instagram, which is Community Voice PHL. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, if it's happening in your community, we need to hear your voice. Peace, and we are out.